Now, neurofeedback, as I introduced in a previous video, is a very interesting process. We're actually working to get the brain to balance itself much more effectively. Now, I've used a number of neurofeedback methods, but the one that I really like and get great results with is called the LENS, Low Energy Neurofeedback System. What I do is I put an ear clip on one ear that is a reference. I put an ear clip on another ear, which is the ground. And then I have two active electrodes. And I place those on where I want to read the brain. And the brain readings that we get are the frequencies. How fast is the brain wave going at that site? The variation of how those frequencies are going. And then it also reads the amplitude, how much electrical activity is going on there, and any changes in the electrical activity. So I first map the brain with these two electrodes, where I place them around the head to 21 different sites. From those sites, the computer generates a map that tells me about what's happening in the brain. And I can tell whether somebody's had a concussion or possibly ADD, or where they overthink things, where they can't shut their brain down. All kinds of things I can learn from those maps. Then the treatment is really simple. All the person does is sit there with their eyes closed and their jaw relaxed, and I place the electrodes on the sites that the map tells me were probably the most useful sites to do the feedback. And what the computer reads is the dominant brainwave at that site. And it sends back an electrical signal offset from that dominant brainwave. And as that brainwave changes, either get faster or slower, so does the feedback get faster or slower. And it's always at a certain distance from that dominant brainwave. And the unconscious picks this up. Now, don't ask me why, because I don't really know. All I know is that the brain begins to adjust itself, and people begin to have symptoms disappear. So one of the first symptoms usually to be affected is when people struggle with sleep. They start sleeping far better. They have vivid dreams, which some people haven't dreamed in years, suddenly start having vivid dreams. They wake up more rested from their sleep. People notice, and sometimes even during the mapping, because they're getting feedback during the mapping, they'll notice that they feel an inner calm. They start relaxing. They don't feel as hyper. People will say they feel lighter. They will have better focus. And when people have had an injury to the occipital lobe, they'll often start seeing their eyes get better. And they will feel more focused. They will be able to not get as tired when they read. People have headaches go away. They have dizziness go away. And even aches and pains in the body often disappear. It's marvelous. People who have ADD, ADHD, oftentimes tend to be able to focus better and be able to pay attention to the things they need to pay attention to. People with concussions end up having anxiety, depression, paranoia disappear. And just the number of people who've had concussions who were only sleeping 2 or 3, maybe 4 hours a night and couldn't sleep anymore, although they were always tired, are now sleeping through the night. These are all wonderful results that neurofeedback creates. And it can create it very quickly. People will often respond and start responding. They won't be complete yet, but they'll start responding by the first, second, third session. They'll start noticing the difference. Some people it takes longer. It depends on how discerning their brain is. But I love this form of feedback, and I use it exclusively. There are other effective neurofeedback, but I like this one because I get such great results with it. Now, one of the things that's going to be following up from this video is another video which will be talking about critical thinking skill training. And I often use these two methods in conjunction. So sometimes I'm working with somebody doing neurofeedback and cognitive training. And sometimes I do use one or the other, depending upon the person's needs and desires. In our next video, we will be discussing how neurofeedback and critical thinking skills can work together. And we will go in more depth of just what critical thinking skill training is and the results you can expect from it.